name is Jason Ledlow, Trevor Nelson, HGA Fundraising. We help nonprofits raise more money by providing the most profitable items in fundraising. Now, I've said that, got that out of the way, we can really get down to what we're going to do today.
Hey, how fun is that?
What we're going to do is, we'll just kind of drink right into it. You good?
Yeah.
Chat features live down there. You can send us a
Q&A at the
message.
bottom.
Q&A. Please come with your questions. Anything you'd like us to say, we want to get to it. There's no question that we won't get to.
What do the kids say? Come correct.
State of the end and win. Trevor's going to give away a trip today. I don't know. He's lost his mind. He just said, "Hey, I'm giving away a trip." I said, "Okay, well, that'd be fun." And
that'd be fun. Hey, let's see how many times it's like a drinking game. Let's see how many times we can say, every time we say fun, drink your coffee or your tea or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Well, the reason this came up is we had a guest on a few weeks ago. His name's Rossi Moriality. He's a charity auctioneer out of California, and he was talking about this, about having fun, exciting and doing that. And it's so funny because our controller here at HJ Fundraising went to an event like 2 weeks later. And he came back and said, "How was the event and everything?" It was one local where we live. And he came back and he goes, "It was the most boring thing I've ever been to in my life."
Yes.
And I said, "Well, tell me, what did they do? Did they do anything?" They didn't do anything. And he said, literally, somebody that was sitting at our table said, "So they asked me to pay money to come here, and then they just want me to give more money. I could have done that from home and had a lot more fun." His point was, his point was, it just wasn't any fun and exciting. And I think something that when we get tied up into, and there's some trends and things that are going on in fundraising right now, there's trends and fads. I talk about those. Trends are typically good things that are happening, what's going on. Fads are flash in the pans that people start trying to promote and they don't go anywhere.
Or they say, "Hey, let's not do a silent auction or a live auction anymore. Let's try."
Yeah, they'll say, "Well, we're not going to do a live auction. We're just
live
going to
auctions are fun."
Well, guess what? Every event that I know that has taken away the live auction has brought it back after 1 or 2 years, because everybody was like, "This is boring." And oh wow, Cypress, Texas.
All right,
Vernon Hills, Illinois. Right on. Great to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
So we want to be real specifically, and Trevor, we were talking about this before in our prep about going through this, and we're coast to coast, man. San Diego. All right.
Nice. Let's just keep actually while we're doing. Let's just keep it coming. Tell us where you're at, where you're from.
Yeah, I'll tell you where we're from. Yeah,
I see some familiar names. I see
Thousand
some
Oaks,
lovely.
Yeah,
it's
Michigan,
great to meet you all.
Fort Lauderdale. Heck yeah.
Tyrone, hope you're okay. Hope you're healthy back there. Everyone's healthy and happy.
I heard there was a rainstorm. I heard there was a little rain hit Florida.
Everyone that we checked in, every client and partner that we have down there, it said this.
Yeah, we have a lot of customers down there. Yeah.
But keep it coming. That's awesome. Thanks everybody for sharing. We will have our Mardi Gras ball on March far out, Robin. Cool.
Hey, state of the end and win. We are definitely going to give away a trip. So if you're here, you're going to be present to win, but we'll get you out of here within the hour. Okay. So back to fun and fundraising.
Let's do it.
We have this idea, we get caught up in fundraising and as professional fundraisers, we're working hard. We're trying to get everything done. And there's some things that happen and all of a sudden we find that maybe our event is not as fun as what it could have been. And, what we want to talk about today is just some of those. And if you've got something you want to contribute, please do. We'll make sure we mention it. Again, any questions? But, Trevor and I were talking about this in our prep, and really, it starts at the very beginning. It starts when you walk in the door. And there's a couple of rules that we like to, whenever we're working with nonprofits or we're coaching somebody, things that I've done over the past, I've seen good, bad, or indifferent over the last 30 years. And that, one, nobody likes to stand in line. Because, what do you, let's go back to the why. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead, the why. Do you want to tell the story, Rossi's story about that, Trevor?
With regard to,
why you want to have fun and not just be heavy.
Yeah, I mean, Rossi was a great guest, and that was the, like I said, we want feedback from you all as far as your experience too, because it's the impetus for these conversations. But Rossi brought up a really, really interesting point. Rossi's, as Jason mentioned, a really, really talented fundraiser and an entertainer, actually. So professionally, like does Super Bowl events and stuff like that. So So his resume is extensive. And he mentioned, hey, and we're not insensitive to this, and he certainly wasn't being. So with all due respect, we, help and you all out there are raising money for some very, very serious causes. Some of them are exceptionally sad. And maybe you've been affected by certain diseases or what have you, or it's a children's cancer organization, or Parkinson's, or what. There's a myriad of them. I mean, our guest last week was trying to dispel sex trafficking. I mean, these are really, really heady subjects, and can be very, very morose. And what Rossi was telling us and telling the audience, and we thought it was just a great reminder and encouragement, was, folks know that, and we don't want folks leaving with, like I told Jason on our prep, I was like, we don't want folks leaving dehydrated because they cried their last tear. I mean, these are very, very sad subjects, and what I guess we're getting at is the event itself is not a time to get folks, over emotional about what's happening. They understand your mission, and they understand what they're giving to. And the idea would be to flip it. And I mean, the world is, everything's so darn serious right now anyway. So it's almost like a form of escapism, right? Wrapped into a fundraiser. Rossi also mentioned, hey, you're getting a tuxedo, you have babysitters, if you have kids, you have to appropriate hours of your time to go to these events. So we need to make them obviously impactful, right? I totally get that from a fundraising perspective, but you can do that with fun, and we'll get to that. Memorable. And then you also want folks to go, hey, oh my goodness, I don't want to miss that again. And there's certain ways to go about that. And we're approaching it this week and talking about it. And we want to continue having this conversation from let's put the fun back in fundraising again. Jason and I have the opportunity in our company to come in contact with hundreds. I mean, we'll be in over 1,000 events this year alone. So we get to really listen to the experience and case studies, frankly, for organizations that are absolutely hitting it out of the park. And what's interesting, the pattern that we see with all these events is that they're adding things like a VIP experience, a complimentary glass of champagne on the way in, no lines, seamless check-in, all these things that we've already kind of alluded to already, and we'll get into more, but it's fun. And I remember we had a guest on, Jay, I mean, it had to be a few months ago, and I don't know why I can't remember who it was, but they said, hey, listen, I think it was an attendee, and they gave us some feedback, and they said, we have an event now where there's ladies kicking off their high heels and dancing at the end of the night. And we said, that's the kind of event
Yeah.
that you want.
Yeah.
That's the kind of
Well,
event that you want.
here's the thing. You could go to an event, you can leave that event and go, wow, that was really heavy. That was a big mission. God, I'm glad we were here. It was so good. It's like watching a movie. You can see those movies that are real emotional.
Yeah.
And, when they come on, you're going, yeah, I'm just not, it's a great movie. It was great, but I just don't want to watch it again because that's really heavy. But, something fun and lighthearted comes on. You're like, oh, yeah, let's watch that.
Yeah, you get a good belly laugh out of it. You want
People
to watch
don't
it again.
come back the next year looking at events. And just, this is my personal experience that, having seen this over the years, nobody sits there and goes, wow, that was an event. Oh my gosh, you've really got to go next year. We were all crying. It was just really sad, and it was really powerful. We gave, they raised a lot of money for this. It was this. No one wants to go to that.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go, and man, that was fun. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I can't wait to go next year. You got to go with this. This is going to be a blast. They had cool stuff. Man, the first thing they did is when we walked in, they had a glass of champagne for us. We walked in. Then when we sat down, they came in there yelling, shot, shot, shot. They were bringing platters of fireball shots around. We bought 2 rounds at my table. It was badass. And we're just doing it. That's what people want to do.
Yeah.
And you may be sitting there going, yeah, but mine's a big formal thing. Biggest formalist event I've ever seen. They brought in fireball shots and they sold them. They made it at Money Deal. They sold them for $300 a table. And it was the funniest thing because everybody was, all these ladies in their elegant dresses drinking fireball shots, and fireballs awesome. Like, $5 a gallon or something like that, but they didn't care. They had so much fun. So that's what we want to talk about that's the why. Yeah. And then, we come to the how. And I think this is where it's really important that we want to keep things moving. I don't care whether your event, and I see Mike Allen from MWTF is on here. Thanks for being here, Mike. They have these banquets and stuff, and that's what everybody wants to do is they want to go have some fun. Because it's a social interaction. You're going there to be seen, to see people that you haven't seen since last year.
Mhm.
And ultimately, we want to raise money, but all these things will lead to that. I can assure you. The funnest events that happen are the ones that raise the most money.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
Isn't
something
that
in
kind
the
of an
air.
interesting thing? It's opposite
Yeah.
what you would think. Well, and there's a fad going on right now that we've seen where people say, well, we're going to have a really powerful fund to need message, and we're going to get up there, and we're not going to have a live auction or have anything. They're going to put it in the fund to need. Well, I can tell you, fund to needs raise money, but it ain't fun. Usually, there's a really powerful heartstring story that's tied to it, and at the end of the day, you'll raise some money, but where's the fun? Where's the contrast? How are you going to get back to being fun? Because people want to cheer and clap and cheer and yeah, 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 rah, rah, rah. So,
Mhm.
I'm just giving you some thoughts. But I
You
want to go
said
back.
how, Jay. You said how, and I want to backtrack
Mhm.
real quick. Sorry for interrupting you. I want to, we talk about the why and the reason why we want to do this. Of course, long-term success as well is something, an outcome for folks wanting to come back year after year. How?
Yeah,
Well, I want to talk about like pre-event before we get through the door. We touched on a few things
yeah,
in the glass chat
good
and all
call.
that. I want to talk about, and I just wrote down in my notes. I just want to talk about like stoking the fire, and I want you to embellish on that a little bit. But
Mhm.
once again, I mean, it could be all channels. You're using social media, you're using mobile bidding software, so folks are getting text messages in real time about what's going on. Hey, we're a week out, check in. And I just want to tell folks as well, there's a really unique opportunity, when you're selling tables and sponsorships and all that, to stoke the fire for participation, for sponsorships, for underwriting, all of these things well before your event obviously even begins. And then also, I want to give folks a real wide lens thought as well. No surprises. Donors are consumers at the end of the day. Consumers don't like surprises. So no mystery live auction item. If that works for you, all due respect, every
Well, there's a way to do a mystery auction item, but
exactly.
yeah, we had somebody come up with something. We're going to use this for the mystery. It was like a $10,000 item, and I'm like,
That's not a good
you don't need to be
surprise.
prepared for that.
Yeah,
You
that's
got to
not a
have a
good
little prep.
surprise. A giveaway or maybe like a raffle, item, maybe I could argue. But we're big believers in using, I mean, everyone's so digitally
Well,
indexed right now anyway. So use that to stoke the fire and
mhm.
make sure that you're creating that, it's a buzz term, but we use it a lot, the FOMO
Well, here's a
um,
couple of fast
for the
things that
event.
you can do that we're
Let's do
talking
it.
about to give you an
Let's do it.
example to tie this together.
Please.
So Trevor mentioned software. There's an organization I saw. They took a picture of they're going to have a signature cocktail, and this was like we're talking about a week before the events when they started doing this. Now they, prior to this, you're going to have the save the date, the invitation. You're going to have
Mhm.
some things, some social media. But whenever to acquire sponsorship, Tyrone, I'll come back to that here in
Yeah,
just a
I want
second.
to. Yep, yep.
Um, but but because we're really this is and we'll get to that, but this is really kind of come up to the event itself. So we're stoking the fire to do this. So like they took like their signature cocktail, sent out a picture,
Mhm.
only
Yeah,
5 days away, and it
there
was
you go.
just a picture of the cocktail.
Really
They didn't
creative.
say anything else. They didn't do anything. It's just little things that you go, oh yeah, that's going to be cool. That's coming up.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yep.
yeah.
A,
There
a
was
a
another
great
one.
new live auction item that you got donated, and you've got like some Garth Brooks tickets, or you got what have you? Rescuing Hope last week, they got some donated Mariah Carey Christmas tickets. That's a great way to
Yeah.
stoke the fire.
But
I mean,
but you just put that out there and you're just
yes,
constantly doing it. It does a couple things. Number one, it gives people a preview. Number two, it lets people see it. There's always going to be a link on there so they can start looking at previewing the event. If you open up your silent auction earlier, which you should, you open that up 4 or 5 days before. In 5 to 7 days, let me just give you what we recommend. You open it up 5 to 7 days and they can start seeing this and looking at it. Doesn't mean they're going to bid. It just means they start looking and seeing what's going on.
and sharing.
Well,
They
yeah,
start
they're going to
sharing as
share that. They
well.
share that
Yeah.
with, the people that they're going to. Oh, yeah. Hey, this is going to be a cool cocktail. Hey, do you have
Yes.
your dress? What dress are you going to, they're just going to start
Yes.
talking about it with their guests, other people that are going to go. We had a deal where I had one, they took and they had a cowboy hat and boots, and it was like a thing that they remembered because it was boots and ball gowns. And they had a cowboy hat and the boots, there were some rhinestones on it. And they just took this picture. It just got people excited about the event that's coming up.
Hmm.
And so Trevor's point about, this pre-event, this is where you want to, you start a crescendo up that's going to
Hmm.
be there.
Let, let me interrupt as well, Jay, real quick as well. Um, the power, we have this conversation a lot with partners, different auctioneers will tell us these things as well. use the power of video. You got someone on your committee whose, son or daughter is a whiz at marketing. Have them donate their time and put together, a 45-second video about your event,
15,
and start.
15.
Well, no, and I was gonna say, as a follow-up point, yes, you have some 15-second, high, multiple
Yeah.
frame, things are moving really, really quick as well. So that way you can hit, all channels with it. But yeah, tell the story with video, and just use the technology that's at your fingertips and what have you to share, right? So
Yeah,
just
and it seems
something to top of
overwhelming.
mind.
And one thing I want to just say, it's going to seem overwhelming because I know that a lot of times our committees aren't necessarily hitting on all cylinders. For you professional fundraisers, you're sitting there doing it by yourself, or you've got one or two people on the staff, maybe you have a couple of volunteers. We understand that some of this stuff's really tough, but looking for advance, you can start doing some of this stuff. Have
Yep.
this stuff done. Don't try to do it the week before. Have it all planned out 2 or 3 weeks out before when you got it, and you can put it into the software and it'll just automatically release.
Agreed.
I mean, I know most of these softwares do that, and where you can get those things done. So,
Let's get,
those are some things that I, on the pre-event.
well, before we get to
So
night of talk, let's approach. I want you to answer Tyrone's question about how far in advance should you do that
the day
when it
after
comes
the
to
previous event, the day after the previous event.
start having conversations. Not everyone can see the questions,
The
Jay.
day
We need to,
after. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't, and I mean that very respectfully, as soon
yeah,
as you can. So here's what you got to do. You got to start thanking people. I'm going to hit on sponsorships really quick because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on this, but we've got some good stuff on sponsorships. Tyrone, we'll send a link when we send the recording of this. We'll put the link to that one as well. Um, you got to start reaching out to these folks really early because when you start talking about sponsorships, when I talk sponsorships, I'm thinking about table sales, table sales, things like that. Underwriting would be things that don't come with a ticket. So those are things that you've got to start immediately. And you should always be getting that ready to go. Don't wait until 90 days before and just send a letter out going, I hope we get a bunch of people. Those are conversations that you're going to have with those people, the donors that were the previous year. If you have somebody who was your platinum sponsor and wrote you a check for 50 grand, I'm having a conversation with them the week after the event.
how are you having
Tell
that
me what went
conversation?
well. Tell me what,
Feedback.
what was good. Tell me what we can do. We want to make sure that you're hooked. Well, I want to make sure they're hooked up for the next year.
Yeah, yeah,
You think, but let them give you that feedback. Let them have that intake
that
back where they can
moment.
go,
Yeah.
this really sucked or this
Hmm.
was really good,
Hmm.
and take it at face value because what the information they're giving you is going to be good.
It's
And tip,
fresh. They
and don't,
deserve it. They earned
and
it.
tell them, well,
Yeah,
just tell them, say, look, this is a deal where you can tell me good, bad, or indifferent how things went because I
yeah,
want to hear it.
yeah,
And a lot of times you'll hear, you know what, quite frankly, the food was kind of weak,
yeah,
and it just
yeah,
wasn't that good.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
you need
just
feedback from
truth.
those
And
kinds
you
of
sit there and you're
those
thinking,
folks that
well, you
invest.
know what? Guess what? Because if you have a great event and a great cause and raise money and the food sucks, people are going to remember that the food sucked.
Sure. Um,
If, this is what we're trying to do, when we're trying to put the fun, we just want to avoid the stuff that sucks. And I'm being real candid with you there, but that's what we're trying to avoid. If
mhm.
you've only got one bar and people are having to wait for 30, 40 minutes to get a cocktail, you've shot your big toe off right there. It's just not, you're going to struggle. If
Let me.
people are having to wait in line to get in the door, for registration because you're trying to, it's complicated.
Yeah,
You got to those things have to be streamlined. Nobody wants to wait in line. And what we want to do is avoid these pitfalls that are going to block the fun because we want people leaving going, I can't wait until next year. That was
yeah.
so much fun. But if they had to wait in line, it starts being the buzzkill. And then we've got to work twice as hard to get that excitement back up.
I want to, a couple things. Tyrone, if you want to expand on that, I put a link out there for everybody. If you want to schedule a free coaching call so we can spend, a half hour or more talking these things through because we're on limited time. Wow, we already went through 20 minutes. Uh,
That's why, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. We got to keep
So
cooking.
Jay, do me a favor though, because I want everyone to see these questions. Can you open up the chat to everyone for me real quick, if you don't mind?
Mhm.
And that way we can see everything. And then we're gonna turn the page on pre-event, stoking the fire, so to speak, just some moniker we came up with. We're gonna turn the page on pre-event. If you have any questions about anything
Mhm.
pre-event or what have you, ask now, ask away. And yeah, we'll start getting into the actual event itself. Sorry, Jay, I just wanted to get some
No,
housekeeping.
no, no. So understanding that we're trying to avoid the suck. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
again, and it's not, but that's just the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
because those are ways that you can add joy and fun and streamline your event that are some of the simplest things that we do. We were doing an event. I was talking with a committee for a banquet the other night, and they did this, and they were saying, well, what can we do? Because what, everybody shows up, everybody's coming in. What can we do while they're kind of waiting? And I said, have you thought about having a place for them to take their picture? Do it like a red carpet photo op.
Super fun. Yep.
And they said, no, we haven't thought about that. Never done it before.
Mhm.
Um, Victoria, we're talking about, he was just now, whenever somebody responds, I thought I set that up. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Victoria. We're going to open it up to where everyone can see everything in real time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is that good
Um,
now? We're good?
it should be good now. So if
Okay,
you
cool.
send something out, it should go to everyone. Um, yeah, unless we reprint it, it won't come up, but there was just one question, but you'll see them now.
Cool.
Um, the, so, doing things like that. So from the time that they arrive until the time that they leave, you want to control everything that you can control. There's certain things that you can't control. You can't control the size of the building. You can't, other than you can't make it bigger. Maybe there's some things where parking, maybe you see that you're limited in certain spaces or certain things. Those are things that you can't do anything about. So to control everything that you possibly can.
Mhm.
Parking, parking is one of the things that they miss. No matter how big your event is or how small, you can always valet.
I love the idea
I
of a
can tell
valet. I
you,
think it's really
it is
fun.
such an easy thing to do because
It
you
can
can get
also
it
be
underwritten.
underwritten. It can also
Well,
be
that's what I
underwritten.
mean.
Yeah.
Typically, you go to a local car dealer, like where we live, there's a car dealer. They'll pretty much pay for the valet for any event that goes on,
Hmm.
because they want people to see. They've got a big sign that they bring out, and it said, "Valet brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Oklahoma City,"
Yep.
and they do that all the time. And you go find somebody who's going to underwrite that. You can go get a company that'll do it. Um, and they'll, because they're covered with insurance, they've got all the stuff,
Hmm.
but you get that cost covered. That is a really awesome thing because it just adds a little extra edge. And it, again, even
Yeah.
if you're saying, well, ours isn't a real formal event, it doesn't
That's
matter. You can
okay.
still do it.
I think
Um,
shocking people with that kind of differentiation, if you haven't done that
yeah.
before, could be a really nice hit. So now we're parking,
Well,
we're
here, let me
valet,
give you
we're
one reason why.
yeah,
Let's
go
just
ahead.
say that things that you can't control because the parking lot is kind of like gravel because it's like an event center out of ways in some of these
Sure.
places. Beautiful place, but it's gravel.
Hmm.
Well, ladies walking in high heels and gravel is not very much fun.
Sure.
And at least that's what my wife tells me.
Hmm.
And so that's a way that you can just help control these things.
I love that.
Uh,
I love that. So you got
so
parking, we got valet, we gave some
yeah.
underwriting opportunities with that as well, which is always obviously huge because we're still fundraising while we're having fun.
Mhm.
Now we're red carpet, some photos, another underwriting opportunity, also really, really cool. Anyone have any experience with that? Because
Well, what I was
everything
going
that
to
we've
mention
heard has
about
been awesome.
the red carpet experience they did,
Yeah.
it was the best. They came back and they go, the best idea you gave us for the whole thing was the red carpet, Jason. Of
It can
all
be
the stuff,
underwritten
because
once again.
well, they did get it underwritten,
Yeah.
but it wasn't that. It was the fact that everybody just loved doing it.
Hmm.
It was
Hmm.
just fun because they were all going and taking pictures. They were, there were ladies taking pictures together. There
Yeah,
were couples,
friends.
there were
Yep.
families, there were
Yep.
guys, there were just all these people were getting these pictures made, and it
Yep.
was just a fun thing for them to do,
Yep.
and
Okay.
really simple.
Yeah.
Um,
Now we're at check-in, and we're not necessarily
yeah.
saying that check-in's super duper fun, but it can get really, really ugly really, really fast. Let's talk about check-in and making sure it's streamlined and making sure that we've obviously utilized our software platforms, pre-event to make sure that it's not, like I said, not the most fun thing. Maybe someone's got a glass of champagne in their hand. I actually think that's really fun. I'll give a quick example, raising money at my child's school. She's in kindergarten, but I was tasked with before folks got the chicken, they told me I got on the committee last year for the first time, and they asked us to 'cause she was in kindergarten, so it made sense. And so they said check-in was a nightmare last year. And I was like, okay, well, let's just clean it up and do some test runs first, right? Some dry runs and just make sure everything's real ironed out, text good. And then let's also give folks maybe a glass of champagne so they have a glass of champagne while they're checking in. So it can kind of like, it'll dull the effect of, even if it's a 60-second wait in line. But I think that is something that can really go awry really, really quick. Talk about just making sure check-in streamline, Jay, and how we can make it fun from there.
Well, one thing I can tell you is don't take credit cards.
Cool. Yeah, far
The
out.
software we have today, there's no reason to take a credit
Don't need
card,
to.
put a credit card on file. You don't need to do it. All
Yep.
the software, people can go on there and pay, or you can get it at checkout. Some people are like,
Yeah.
well, we really want to get that. You don't need to do it.
Yeah.
I know there's some people like to, okay, fine.
Well,
But
you can do it. You can do it days before the event if you like as well. Folks can
yeah,
check in
there's
pre
just
to.
so many ways you can do it, because
Yeah,
anything that's going to slow the process down,
that's a
it literally
massive
needs to
choke
be,
point.
I walk
Yeah.
up, hi, my name is Jason Ledlow. Yep, you're on table 217. Here's your
Hmm.
books. Have a great night.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
should be about all there is to it. When somebody goes, well, we're trying to type it in, and when somebody's trying to add somebody to an event, it's always a pain, because even though, like Trevor mentioned, doing dry runs, absolutely you got to do that. Make
Yeah,
sure
for
that your
sure. Make sure
volunteers
they're
are ready to
tired.
go,
Yep.
whoever's running that check-in, and have
Yep.
more than one person, have
Good
more
call.
than one laptop, have more than one battery charger. And the reason I'm talking about credit cards, because the worst thing in the world are the little swipers.
Mhm.
If there's a failure point that I've ever seen that happened more than any way, it was the little credit card swiping. They
Yeah.
just never sync up. They never work. It's always a pain. So, you want to make this where it's really deal. Here's his next thing. If you've got a volunteer that always shows up, always there, but they just gripe and complain about everything, please don't put them as your check-in person.
Yeah. First line of defense. Yep. Gotcha. That's a
This is
great
where
point.
we want to have people that are joyous and happy and glad to be there, in our greeters.
Yep.
When you
Good
walk in,
call.
when they're going to see somebody. Somebody that gets frustrated easily is not the person to get, because something is going to go wrong at some point. And
Inevitably.
you want
Yeah.
somebody to go, hey, no worries, we're going to get you taken care of. I went to an event one time, they were having some issues, and the lady said, it's not a problem. You're at table 172. We're going to have somebody bring over your stuff to you in just a moment. Let's go ahead and get them out there. And they had escorts, and they would take
Yeah.
people to their table,
Yep.
which is a really good idea if you've got the volunteer power, where they don't have to find it,
Yep.
because otherwise they're wandering around looking.
So let's because credit cards and check-in. I mean, it's not. It's necessary, but not a fun conversation. We're in the door now. We're in the door.
Yeah.
And
No, wait, you're saying past check-in?
yeah, now we're past check-in.
Oh, so
right?
okay, we're skipping ahead. All right, we're checked
Okay.
in.
We're already checked in. Because this is just like, it just has to happen, of course, right? Just a fundamental. It has to be smooth, cool, because it can really detract from the fun. So, point taken. We're in now. Let's start talking about like some revenue enhancers, maybe some
Well, hold on a minute.
entertainment.
Hold on a second. I'm
Yep.
gonna stop you right there.
Yeah.
What's
fire
the
away.
first thing that everybody does as soon as they walk in? First thing that they do?
They go to the bar. Pardon me. You're right. I
Nope.
jumped over
They
it.
go find their table.
Oh,
The
okay.
first thing they're
Cool.
going to do is they're going to go find where they sit.
Sure.
You're going to find where you sit. So let's make it really easy. Here's
Okay.
a really easy way to do it. If you don't have people to direct people to their table,
Mhm.
go have a large, you can have a pretty good size one on an easel put up with a map that shows where the tables are. So
Love
that
it.
just put it right there when they walk in the door. They can look at it and see, oh, yeah, okay. That way they're not just wandering around. Because a lot of times tables don't get put in order. It's not like, well, one's over here. Because that part doesn't matter, however it is, where they can see their table and go to it quickly.
Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
that's the first thing, because people are going to go to their table. Now, the
Make it
second
easy.
thing they're going to do
Go to the
is
bar.
to go find the bar. They're ready to go get a cocktail.
Yep. And
Back to the whole thing, not waiting in line. We
Yeah.
were talking about it,
had multiple.
um, one of the places that I see nonprofits tend to want to say, well, we're going to save some money.
Mhm.
Well, we've got some money to save, and they'll go, well, instead of doing 3 bars, we're going to do 2. Well, we just decided to go with 1. I don't care if you've got 1 bar, 2 bars, 5 bars. It doesn't matter. It's how many people are behind the bar. That is the most important thing. So you need to be real specific with your caterer, whoever's running that, to say, how many bartenders are you going to have? How many bar backs are you going to have? You need to have at least 3 or 4 that they can move around. This is no different than anything else. People that are standing in line, waiting for drinks, talking, aren't making money for you. You're not, they're not going to go. You can have the best revenue enhancers, the best silent auction, all these great things going on. and they're standing in line waiting for another drink. And, they go wait, and the line took so long that they just walk from the front, they walk around, they go get in line again because they want to try to get a couple of cocktails before the program starts. So my recommendation is that it's not the number of bars, it's the capacity of the bar. And make
Mhm.
sure that you have that conversation with your deal saying, we have to have, not maybe, we have to have this many people.
Yep.
We've got 500 people at our event.
Yeah, you can't have
Let's just say that
one bar with two
400 of them
people.
are consuming.
Yeah.
Well, if it takes a minute, or a minute or so to do a cocktail, 400, that's 400 minutes.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going?
That's a
It
massive
becomes a math
undertaking.
issue.
Yeah.
And
Let me
the
ask
other
you a
thing,
question. Let me
yeah,
ask you a question about bars. Do we accept cash at bars?
no,
Yeah.
no, please
Takes the
don't.
fun right out of it.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm kind of funny about this stuff. I
Yeah.
always build the gratuity into it. I always tell people, especially if I'm having a nicer event, don't put anything up there.
Mhm.
Whenever I've done events in the past, I've always told the caterer, no tips. We're
Cool.
paying you to be here. I do not want
Cool.
you accepting tips. This is a deal. Because then people start feeling they got to reach in their pocket and
Yeah, it
go
gets a
do
little
something.
confusing. Yeah.
That's not what
Yeah.
we're here to do.
Or
This is an
time
open
consuming. Yeah.
bar. There's
Yeah.
no tips. So that's just me. Okay,
Cool.
that's just me doing events for a long time.
You said
I
something
don't.
earlier about signature cocktails. Has anyone, give us some feedback if anyone
Well,
has
let
had
me
any
let me
great
go back to.
experience
I
with
want to
that?
finish the bar real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
If all you can do is wine and beer because of your budget, just do wine and beer.
Cool.
If you do wine and beer and cash cocktails, you might as well just do free cocktails because you're going to slow everything down because people are going to buy. But if it's okay just to do wine and beer, but make it complimentary. Put it in the program.
Sure.
Cash bars are just, I just hate
Massive
them. I
choke
mean,
point.
it's just, to
Yeah.
me, it's just a big old stub your toe right off the bat.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
that's what we're trying to do is avoid that. Find budget for it. Go find an underwriter.
Build
If
it
you
into
don't
your
have in the
table
budget,
sales. Yeah,
go
ticket
get
sales.
go get the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So now, so we've got them in there. We've got a cocktail in their hands. Now we're talking about room layout. Now, again, there's things that we can control, things that we can't control. Um,
Cool. Love that,
what I
Tracy.
want to just say is think about, people are going to go the path of least resistance.
Hmm.
If you have one of your silent auctions in one side of the room and another on the other side of the room, and on the other side of the room, there's no bar, there's never going to be anybody go see it because they're going to be over by the bar. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's just the way it is. There's a event here in Oklahoma City, the Western Heritage Museum. We call it the Cowboy Hall of Fame. That's what it always has been. But the Western Heritage Museum, giant room. It'll hold like 1,000 people. And a lot of times, most of the events that are there are going to have, 4, 5, 600 people there. But so it's a really big room. Just because it's big doesn't mean you have to do everything all around there. And the people that have the most success, they usually designate one side of it with the bars on each end. They'll put a couple of bars on each side of it, and they have the silent auction all right there. So when you walk in the door, you don't have to walk all the way across the room to go do it.
Hmm.
They keep everything on one side. Again, you got to work with what you've got.
Sure.
But you want everybody to be there. There's another place that we have. It's a local hotel. Really cool. It's a convention area, but it's really cool. And they have this atrium, and on one side, that's where they usually do the silent auction. They have bars on each end of this like a foyer, and on the other side is where they go in for the event. And so it works out really well because people are sitting there with their drink. They go walk through and they see all the stuff. And then when it's time to close the silent auction, they just close the doors. So, I mean, you got to use what you've got.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really believe that, tying those things together really makes sense. Walk through it yourself. Walk through
Sure.
and just imagine this is where this is going to be, because that placement, golly, it really can matter. Because I've been in stuff where they did one year, they did like a red, blue, green, and pink thing, and they had it in opposite corners. Well, two of the deals had hardly any bids, hardly
Mhm.
anything. And because it was so far out of the way, and they just didn't want to
Let,
walk over there because they're talking.
let's come back to like revenue enhancers and the silent auction and stuff like that. Let's riff just a couple of things that you can do to add some excitement, you know what I mean? Some movement in the room. We had Lisa Sampson on from Rescue and Hope last week, and she talked about a couple things. She talked about some hits and she talked about some misses. I'm just going to talk about the hits right now.
Hmm.
And she talked about having live entertainment, and they actually had an orchestra from a local high school that
Yeah.
really enjoyed doing it. They were, it was gratis. So that was great. She also said something, and this is just something to consider. They have someone doing live paintings, and they auction off the
Yeah,
live
that's
paintings.
always a fun one because
Yeah.
it's something people see it up on stage.
I think people love, I think this is underutilized, underappreciated. I think people love live music. I don't think that, I know
Well,
that.
this is something that we've seen. Like you get a string quartet. You can go to the local university, the high
There you go.
schools.
Yep.
They're looking for places to come perform. If you
Mm-hmm.
give that and a free meal and a $20 bill, they're happy to show up and do it because they just want to perform.
Yeah.
And you get like a string quartet or something, they'll come up there and play this beautiful music while everybody's coming in and it's kind of in the
I think it's
background.
nice. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's all kinds of things that you can do that just make it it's called the cool,
It's
something
totally
that was
cool.
really cool.
Yes. It's not,
Tracy, I love the fact that you do two signature cocktails that are both underwritten. That's a
that's
lot of
awesome.
fun. So let me tell
Yeah.
you what a signature cocktail is from our perspective. So that's where it's something special, a special drink that the caterer, the bartender, chef, whoever's going to come up with. And I mean, it can be really anything, but it's always going to be something. It's typically kind of flashy, and it's something that kind of everybody. It's not so exotic that half the people aren't going to know what it is or want to drink it.
It's not a
But
gin
everybody's going
fizz.
to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's like
It's a
a
mint
lemon
julep.
drop.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
mint
Yeah.
julep, lemon drop. It could be something like that. Hey, this is our signature cocktail, and people are going around, and when they pass it around, it's really cool. And
Yeah.
that's a way that you can do it without having to have open bar, just like what Tracy was mentioning. Now,
That's
Lori,
awesome.
she's saying they
Love
offer
it, Lori.
free beer and wine, and for specialty drinks, they have to purchase tokens. We encourage them to put the cost on their bidder number. Now, that
Smart.
is something that you can do, and I have seen that's actually a good idea
Mm-hmm.
because you can do it. I'm still a guy who says,
Sure.
don't try to make money off the bar.
Sure.
Go get it underwritten.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, and I know some people do, so I'm just, it's not my thing because there's a group of ladies down in Texas. They have an event, and that's what they do is sell drink tickets, and they make pretty good money off of it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they do.
Yep.
It's like a sorority party, except for sorority party for rich people, and it was a pretty cool thing. But
Awesome.
so all the stuff that you can do, like she's got a great workaround because what she's saying is we're not going to slow them down at the bar. Get the drink, here's the ticket, and then we're out of the way because that's where you can do it. Now, you've also got to make sure that it's easy for people to get tickets.
Mm-hmm.
How fast can they get tickets? And if you're doing it on your bidder number, which brings me to something that I think is really important. I
Talk
would
about it.
I would pass on taking cash or credit cards on anything during the event.
Okay. Why?
Because if you just eliminate that part of it, it just makes it simple. Number one, cash you have to account for. So not only do you have to make sure that you can do things like change, you can do it, somebody's got to count it. Somebody's got to be accountable to it. What happens if something gets lost? Not saying somebody does anything wrong, but what if it's, short change wrong? Somebody gives somebody a 20 instead of a 10. It just becomes a really difficult thing to account for. And it's just one more headache that you've got. Credit card processing just takes time. As
Mm-hmm.
fast as we are today, when you pull a credit card out, somebody's got to enter the number in or they've got to scan the card, they've got to do something, and it slows down, takes 2 or 3 minutes of transaction. For example, when we talk about using doing a golden ticket raffle, you're selling tickets for 100 to 250 bucks a piece. Well, if I'm standing there having a conversation, I got a glass of wine in my hand, we're sitting there talking, somebody comes up and I've got to stop and dig in my pocket, pull something out. Well, that's taking 2 or 3 minutes a piece. If I'm trying to sell 100 tickets and I've got to do that 100 times, that's 5 hours it'll take to sell those tickets. Whereas if I just go, yeah, just put it on your buyer number. Oh, here you go, 225.
Yep.
Or I
It's
just say,
yeah.
oh, it's 225. Just put it, yeah. And they look it up, put it on there, and they can just put it right in their system because you're using mobile software. If anybody's not using mobile software, start using mobile software.
Please.
But that's one more thing that you can do. Just everything is about speed and efficiency because we live in a world of speed and efficiency. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the store, you don't even swipe your card or put the chip in, you just tap it. Sometimes you just use your phone, double click it, pulls up, and you just
Yep.
hold it up and it just taps it and it's Apple Pay,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
however. All those things are really going in the right way that use the technology that's there and practice it, and
Totally.
you'll pay dividends. I had somebody say one time, they go, well, we're putting all this on their bidder number, but what if they don't pay? One is most of the time people are going to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say that you sold 100 golden tickets and one or two people didn't pay. You still raised $9,800, or
Yeah.
24,500 bucks, but you might not have sold all those tickets and done it if you'd tried to do it manually.
Yep.
So being that, and people just don't want to wait. We've all got the attention span of a guppy. Nobody wants to sit there and wait in line, and people will sit there and go, yeah, I'll just wait here. I'm not gonna go wait in that line.
Hey, I want to change the subject really quick. I want you to talk about giving folks things like the bracelet. I want you to talk about, buying a golden ticket, for instance, or like a very, very fun revenue enhancer where folks go, A, it's fun. You can win something. And the folks that don't have the bracelet go, hey, I'm missing out on something. What's going on here? I want to get with it.
Well, when we're starting to talk about revenue enhancers, there's two things that we can use. One is fear of missing out, FOMO, where we use something like a necklace. You can go buy 1,000 of them for $5 at the party store. It's just really simple thing. Beads. It could be the blinky ring. Maybe it's a lapel pin. You don't have to go spend a fortune on this stuff. But somebody goes, "Oh wow, where'd you get the blinky ring or the bracelet?" "Oh well, I'm entered into the golden ticket raffle." "Well, where's that at? What's that about?" That's how it happens. Maybe you've got people that have a certain level. They're a VIP. And you give them a little special sash, or you give them something, it's like you said, a bracelet or something to wear. And, oh, what's that bracelet for? "Oh, well, that was for the VIP party that we had before the event started."
That's fun.
"Well, how did you get invited to that?" "Well, we've got a certain table, or we're one of the underwriters.
We paid extra.
Here's how you become an underwriter."
Yeah.
People start going. They want to know how did I get access to that? "Oh, it was really cool. Yeah, we had Rafa Nadal, the tennis player, he just retired, but he was here and he signed an autograph. I got my picture with him. You want to see it? Here it is." And they show you the picture.
You just said something very, very interesting. You used the term that we used to use a lot, actually, when we were talking about like doing the people exercise and getting things donated and creating items and just a rockin' event overall. You said access. And I think giving folks unique access, like you talk about a VIP experience pre-event, for instance, we talked to Lisa about that last week. Talk about how we could use something like access to a guest, access to a speaker, access to the board was a great example as well. That can create, now not necessarily for everybody because you got to pay to be involved, for a VIP experience. But talk about access and how that can make it more fun, and we can build in the FOMO. And you can also advertise pre-event. With that too,
VIP
right?
access means that VIP access. That means you're going to get something that everybody else is not.
That's
a
nice additive.
We start doing that by maybe that if you're a certain level at a sponsorship level, you get VIP access to the pre-event. Now, here's a question that you want to ask, going back to Tyrone's question about, talking about getting sponsors involved. Well, if I've had this deal and the sponsor said, "Look, I don't want to have a VIP access early because we all have a pre-cocktail party at my house and I have all my guests come there and we're going to do it at my house and then we'll show up to the event." Okay. What if I have a limo come and pick all of you up? Yeah, that would be cool. We'll have a limo come pick you up and then take you back to your house, and that way everybody can go. That would be really cool. So that's where having those conversations, for that elite status is, because that's a VIP. How did you guys get the limo? Well, we're the gold sponsor this year.
Sure.
So
yes.
Little things. Whenever time you've got a revenue enhancer, any kind of thing, if there's something, because we don't really want to give physical tickets anymore because tickets just wind up in your pocket, except if you're doing something like a raffle where you're saying, it's 10 for 100 and a double wingspan for 250 bucks.
Yeah.
And you got all these people walking around with these tickets wrapped around their neck, which I've had events. We did a Rolex raffle one time. I've seen it done several times, but a Rolex raffle. And these people are walking around. They've got they bought $1,000 worth of tickets.
That's
and they've
fun.
got 4 of these deals. I go, "What's that for?" "Well, that's for the Rolex I'm going to win." "Where do I get those at?" "Well, you see those 2 young ladies over there? That's where they're doing it over there." because people, the more people that you have at your event, there's a lot going on, and it's hard, even though your pre-events, you're telling people what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're doing all that, still somebody's going to show up and not know what's going on.
For sure, because they're not seeing you on
I'm that
Facebook or
person.
they're- Yeah,
Because
yeah,
half the time,
exactly.
I've been doing this. If I'm going to an event, a lot of times I just kind of ignore that stuff because I'll figure it out when
Yeah.
I get there. But, then
Cool.
I'm going, hey, what's this deal? What's that deal? What's going on? There was an event that I did where they did these raffle packs. Okay.
Mhm.
And they had these raffle packs and they get all this stuff in them. And then they decided they were going to do like 10 VIP raffle packs. And so you got to walk around. So the regular raffle pack had a little cooler, little thing for like a, 6-pack kind of size thing, and had all the raffle items in it. The VIP one had all the same stuff, more tickets, but then it had a Yeti cooler, like a little deal with a shoulder strap that you could walk around with. It was kind of a cool thing. And it
And
worked on
fun.
me. That's what I bought.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, that looks fun. I want to have the VIP access. I want
Yeah.
the Yeti cooler with the strap on it.
Speaking
So,
of that, speaking of VIP,
know-
Victoria had a really cool thing. And I love this. I want folks to take this away. We not only provide access to the VIP party, but we make personal introductions between our VIPs and executives / decision makers that they'd like to meet. They love that personal touch. And if you can just get in a committee meeting, for instance, just whiteboard the ideas about personal touches and things that you can add to your event that aren't crazy time consuming, that aren't crazy complicated, it sounds as simple as an introduction, Victoria. I think that's lovely. Anytime that you can add those personal touches that folks maybe aren't going to see somewhere else. Because a lot of these folks that are, we didn't talk about this, it's kind of the elephant in the room. A lot of these folks that are going to your event are going to other events. You know what I mean? They're event goers. That's what they do. And it's really okay for them to donate to multiple causes. What's going to set you apart, right? Differentiation, stronger than competition. What's stronger than differentiation? Impact. And I think these personal touches, especially with the people involved with your organization, lovely, lovely feedback, Victoria. Really, really appreciate that. And
Yeah,
hopefully that
don't
matters,
underestimate
folks.
the power of that. There
No,
was
it's
a
huge.
board that I was on, and everybody had to they would wear the badge and the board, and they would walk around to every table. The board members would, every table, and
thank.
personally thank everyone that was there. And, it was because I was a board member, so I would do the same thing. I'd walk around and do that. And everybody was so surprised. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming by. It means something. And because people like that, whether it doesn't matter whether they're the gold, the platinum table or the table that's all the way in the back. It doesn't matter.
That's
They
impactful.
all appreciate it. It's very, very impactful. So that's
Now we
really
just blended fun with memorable. And I think those things are very, very memorable. They're very personal. I want to do a last call for questions, Jamie.
Well,
because we're
I've
kinda
got
getting to
two
the end.
things that I want to hit while they're hitting their
Yeah.
questions because, we've talked about the pre-event, getting in the door, what's going on, having
Entertainment,
dinner.
revenue enhancers, stuff like
all
that.
I'm going to say about dinner is again, it's got to be good.
Good
If
call.
you got to spend a little more money to
Memorable.
have a better food,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Again, you can go get the there's a great underwriting opportunity. They're like, well, we want to have this thing for dessert. Get it underwritten. All these
Sure.
things, there's always somebody there that would be willing to do that. You just got to reach out to enough people that care about your organization to find somebody that wants to do it.
Let me talk about something obvious, Jay, and I want to get your feedback on it because you talked about, we talked about doing dry runs and testing these things, and you're talking about control the controllables. So when you said that, it made me think of, okay, have a run a show, have everything and stick to it, stick to your timeline. What's not fun? And I want to say, and just kind of get you going and stoke you a little bit to respond is, what's not fun is having things drag. You said something about attention span. We know the time that we're living in. We know that people, have sitters or whatever, or they appropriate a certain amount of time. If they want to stay, great, they can stay. But, you talk about just run a show with your
Fundraise early.
Yeah.
Fundraise early.
Come on now.
Party late.
Cool. There you
Fundraise
go.
early. Party late.
Cool.
If you're going to have a thing, I know that there's people that we want to honor. There's people that we want to hear, but there are people that we want to honor that will put everybody to sleep. You got to be really careful about that, about who all's going to speak and who all's going to do that. Because at the end of that, people are done. The witching hour is 9:00. 9
right?
o'clock, wherever you're at. That's what, now I realize there's exceptions to this. So please don't, I'm not saying this
If
deal.
you're crushing
But
it
for
till 11, keep doing
most
it.
events at
Yeah.
9 o'clock, you're done. If you're trying to run for fundraising purposes,
Mhm.
you're done because
Mhm.
people have to get up to go to get babysitters. They've got to start getting out. They've got an early day the next day. They got to go to church, whatever's going on. They got something, if it's a Friday night event, they've got Saturday morning soccer at 7 o'clock. They got to go get home, get the kids back, get them ready because they got to get up and get going for that. There's always something.
Mhm.
So you want to start your fundraising, you have an hour to raise money. We call it the golden hour. It's really almost 45 minutes.
Mhm.
So, that's to do all your fundraising. Fundraise early, party late. If you're going to have a band and have all that stuff afterwards, you got to be starting that at 9 o'clock because if you wait till 9:30, 10, all of a sudden it's crickets. And I realize there's some events that everybody stays and parties, but there's a
Sure.
lot that I've seen where they go and, they spent money on a band. They got all this stuff ready. They promoted it, talked about it, and everybody left. And the
Yeah.
only people that were there were the committee members
Mhm.
because they
Mhm.
really wanted the band. And, so just those are things when you're fundraising, that includes your golden ticket, your, where you're
Live
drawing your
auction.
raffles,
Yep.
their live auction,
Yep.
and the fund a need. An auction is going to take 3 to 4 minutes per auction item.
There
I
you go.
like 3 minutes as a rule of thumb. So if you've got, and that doesn't mean that you got to say, well, I can only have 3 items. You need to have as many items to raise the money that you need.
Mhm.
Start at the back because I've had people say, well, we can only have 5 items. Well, how much money you need to raise? $30,000. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you have 5 items that you can do that with? No. What's the most expensive item you've ever sold at your auction? $3,000. The
Well,
money
that
doesn't
math.
work. It doesn't
Yeah.
work. Five
Yeah.
items times three, it's 15,000. We need to raise another 15 grand. So maybe you do need to have a couple more items.
Sure.
Maybe you've got something that came in, donated that you're like, boy, this is really rocking. So keep those things in mind that, it's about time. And no matter what, this is my having in 30 years, I don't know how many events I've done, but it's a lot that I've been at. In 30 years, the people that say, well, we're going to hold off just a few more minutes, don't do it. You're going to be
Yeah.
tempted. Well,
Yeah.
dinner didn't come out just right. Well, we're waiting on
Stick
this.
to it. Yep.
Stick on the timeline
Yep. Good call.
because the longer you wait, one, people are going to get more intoxicated. You're going to start getting close to that 9 o'clock hour and you're going to miss out.
Yep.
There's, and I got one more thing. Be careful about people that are going to speak at your event.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
There was an event.
Keep it short, right?
There was
Keep
an
it short.
event where a politician and an astronaut showed up, and they let those two people speak. They had 800 people in the room. This is
Yeah.
no joke. 800 people. They let them speak. The politician spoke for 45 minutes. The astronaut spoke for 30 minutes. In that hour and 15 minutes, whenever they got ready for the fundraising for the auction, there were 80 people in the room because when they finished, everybody left. Nobody wants to hear that. I mean, I don't care who they are.
Yeah.
Nobody that goes to a fundraiser wants to listen to a politician speak for 30, 40 minutes.
No joke.
As much
Take
as
that
I think
microphone.
astronauts are cool, nobody wants to listen to one go on.
Maybe
And this
do a
guy was a
VIP
very accomplished
experience to talk to
person.
the astronaut. Yeah, exactly.
Nobody wants to listen to him speak for 30
Yeah.
minutes. It's just
Hey,
that's not what we want to do.
last call for questions. We do have a winner. We're going to give away an all-inclusive trip. Tracy mentioned we have an after party. It's underwritten with live music and dancing. I think that's awesome. I think that's really, really smart. I've been to events like that too, where that was at the end of the party or at the end of the evening after all the fundraising was done. I think that's really, really uncanny.
Hey, Trev. Yeah.
Hit me.
Who's our winner? Because I'm going to let them spin the wheel to see what they won.
Oh, our team sent us over the winner. It's actually wow, I just mentioned Tracy's name. It's Tracy Snyder. Tracy Snyder is
Oh,
going
well,
to.
how about that?
Come on now.
That's awesome.
Come on now.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
All right.
We haven't
So
done that. Have we done this before? Have we given away an
We've not in a long, it's been quite a while since we've done that. So Tracy, reach up here and touch the wheel.
Oh, you got the whole thing.
Spin.
You got all the options up there.
Oh, yeah.
I
Here
thought
it
I was
goes.
going to decide.
We're going to see what Tracy, nah, I can't let you have all the fun.
The randomizer is going to decide. Here we go.
All right.
Tracy, that's so cool. A Cabo
You got a Cabo
all-inclusive trip
that's
that
not
you can
artificial
use.
intelligence. Yeah, that's all
Yeah.
inclusive.
There you go. Yeah. that you can use at your event if you like. You can make it a VIP thing. Oh, gala on 11. Not there you go. Far
There
out.
you go.
Okay, it's happening soon. Right on, Tracy.
That's my
Cool. Well,
birthday.
thanks. Yeah, super cool. Thanks so much for coming. I'm glad you won, and we're gonna keep on doing it. We have some really fun
Hey,
stuff actually in the
if
works.
if some of this stuff is hitting on you, maybe we didn't get on everything. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Appreciate that feedback.
Thanks. Appreciate
Go to
you.
hjfundraising.com, sign up for a coaching session. There's no obligation, no nothing. You're going to get an hour of undivided time with one of us. You can, we got that time to talk about anything that you want to do with fundraising. And it's something that we really, and number one, we really enjoy doing it. We got a lot of stuff to share, whether it's about, run of show. And what we do is, like Trevor said, we just have all this information that comes in and we just share it back out. So
Yeah,
please take advantage of that. And do one
that's
more
awesome.
favor. We're going to send out
Share it.
we're going to send a copy of this out to you via email. You'll get it tomorrow.
Hmm.
Please share this out. Share
Hmm.
this out with other people that
Yeah,
could use it, other nonprofit professionals. That's all
yeah.
we ask.
Check it out on YouTube. If we can keep asking favors, thank you, Trevor. Appreciate you, brother. If we can keep asking favors, hit the subscribe on YouTube. Send the link that we share with y'all tomorrow with the recording, please, with someone in
Mhm.
your network. This is how we keep this thing going, and we really, really appreciate everyone's time. It was really fun today. I appreciate you. It went by
Yep,
so
cool.
fast. Holy smokes! We have to do fun part 2 probably. Yeah.
Have a wonderful weekend, you
All
guys.
right.
Successful
Thanks, everybody. Thank
fundraising.
you, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody, for
Take
coming.
care.
Have a great afternoon. See you next week.